My next guest is an acclaimed academic at Richemond University here in Herzliya, where she's the academic director of the International Program in Government. But separate from her academic accomplishments, Professor Daphne Richemond-Barak is now sounding the alarm about what she terms a silent academic boycott of not only Israeli academics, which would be horrific enough, but also of Jewish academics, to discuss her personal experience with that dangerously insidious phenomenon. I'm delighted to welcome Professor Daphne Richemond-Barak here in the studio. Thank you for being with me.
Thank you for having me on your new show.
So I want to start right at the issue. You have said that there is a silent academic boycott that is taking place against Israeli academics, Jewish academics, and it's essentially founded on 4 pillars: intimidation, exclusion, cancellation, and isolation. You were the victim of one such boycott just now at a NATO conference at which you were scheduled to speak in your field house, namely urban warfare. For the benefit of the NATO participants, what actually happened?
Yes, so the effect of this silent academic boycott that we're talking about is essentially to exclude Jewish students, Israeli students, and also Jewish and Israeli academics from a healthy academic life, right? And so what happened to me in recent days is that I had been invited to participate, to speak at a NATO event on special environments, including urban warfare. And I was going to speak specifically about subterranean warfare. This had been in the works for a year, endless emails back and forth, as it usually is, scheduling the event. And then eventually the schedule was sent to all the participants, including my name and my affiliation. And everything was done. And then I get an email telling me that, unfortunately, I won't be able to participate in this meeting because my participation, basically, there is one member of NATO that is objecting to my participation. I am persona non grata, and therefore I won't be able to come. So that is an example of how an academic, I'm not even an official right of the IDF or of the Israeli government, is being precluded to enter NATO circles for now and for the future.
So you've spoken about how they're slow walking, essentially, the destruction of a flourishing academic career.
Mm-hmm.
The academics need time to think. That's what they're paid to do. They need time to gather their thoughts, do their research, and then publish their papers. There's a famous axiom in academia that either publish or perish. So by tying academics up in any number of excuses as to why they can't come to a conference, whether it be suddenly there are no expenses that they're able to pay, or it might be a patronizing idea such as that it's too dangerous for you to attend the conference, they're doing it for your own good.
Right.
By tying that up, they're actually bringing about the complete perishing of an academic's career, are they not?
Totally. Academia is built on visibility, first of all. So when you get a cancellation like this, you don't just get a cancellation or a trip that's not going to happen, but what is going to be the fallout of this is fewer citations, fewer exposures, future collaborations are not going to materialize. That publication with those colleagues is not going to be in the works. And so when you lose that visibility, it's essentially when you start shrinking, right? And when you shrink now, you feel the effects much later. And when this is happening on a grand scale, and it accumulates, I think part of the issue with this silent boycott is that it is not formal. It's part of the idea, right? It's informal. Also, the conditions are made so unpleasant that eventually people withdraw, right? They don't apply to those grants. They don't apply to those conferences because of the fear of being rejected. Students don't show up at lectures, right? Because they know they won't be able to speak their opinions. And so that is like really what shrinks academia, where you're not able to be on that global stage anymore, where you are isolated.
So talking about the shrinking of academia, Prime Minister Netanyahu made a statement about the importance, he later recanted, but he made a statement about his desire to see Israel become a Sparta nation, almost an isolated nation, very, very strong. That doesn't work in the realm of academia because of the collaborations that you're talking about. Now, I want to ask you, I think people could understand if Israeli academics, I wouldn't agree with it, but if Israeli academics were being boycotted. But you're saying it's enough to just be Jewish in the eyes of the adjudicator, and you will be boycotted, your academic career will be clamped. Is that right?
Absolutely right. There was a very interesting conference that took place at Richemond University a few months ago about anti-Semitism in universities in France. And you had several academics who came on this delegation, very courageous academics, I should note. And they all reported none of them was Israeli. All of them told stories about how they have guards in front of their classrooms. They don't even teach anything related to Israel. There's nothing specific about what they're doing or who they are other than the fact that they are Jewish. And this puts them in basically at risk. And their students are also kind of facing this really unpleasant environment in which, who wants to get into a lecture when you have a guard at the door? And they all reported endless amounts of incidents to which they are. This is why they came to Israel, to actually share their story. So absolutely, this is happening to Jewish academics also in the United States. I was at the International Studies Association conference in Chicago last year, and you had lots of Jewish academics who barely even remembered they were Jewish before October 7th. And then suddenly they have posters all around campus with their name, their photos on it, saying wanted, and they are not able to actually engage in a healthy, productive, visible academic career anymore.
So let's move on to something else. I mean, you were essentially disinvited from that NATO conference to speak about your expertise. You regularly speak about tunnel warfare, for example, urban warfare. You are a recognized expert on it. With the inability to go and speak that you've faced and that you're saying others face, I want to know something. Is the Israeli government helping?
Look, the Israeli government is not helping. And I just want to say that I don't think that the way that academia or Israel is perceived on the international stage is one of the top priorities of this government. So I don't think this is even on their radar. And I think when we face it, first of all, we have to speak to each other, academics. We have to share our stories. That's also part of the reason why I'm here today. And we have to do that without shame. And we have to be very strong and proud of who we are at the same time. And we have to also handle it by ourselves, absolutely on our own.
Is this worse, would you say, in Europe or in the United States? America woke up to something that I'd been warning about for many years, which is this tsunami, as I've said, of anti-Semitism on campuses that was washing towards them. They're now alert to it. I don't think that they have any really clear ideas about what to do about it. Where would you say that this academic boycott is taking roots and branch more swiftly, Europe or America?
I think it's we're in the same situation. I head the international program in government at Richemond, as you said, and I get people coming to my office. I've seen generations of students, right? 17 years of students who study, students who graduate, students who go on the job market, students who want to do PhDs, and they're reporting similar stories, whether it's about European institutions or whether it is about American institutions. It's a very similar story, and it's a story that is unfolding. And they are now they're making choices about education based on where they feel safe, or where, even worse, they feel the least unsafe. So when you have students, a new generation, right, making these kind of choices, balancing between education and identity, asking if they're going to be able to voice their opinion or are they going to be silenced, I think these are this is the real deal. When I spoke to the French academics, I think a question that kept popping up, or was on everybody's mind, was, so is the university a microcosm of what's to come for French society, or is it actually going to remain contained in academia? Okay. And I think the answer is very clear to that. Both in the United States and in Europe, it's not going to stay in universities. This is a warning of what's to come on the larger scale.
Of course. So my last question, quick answer. Have we got Jewish and Israeli agitators making this worse, including professors perhaps here in universities in Israel?
Not that I know of in Israel. I know that in Europe, there are definitely people who are, voicing very harsh criticism. And then it's not just criticism. Here, we're talking about actually taking steps in favor of those boycotts. It's a real concern. I want to say that one of the things that I hear about the most right now is how the Jewish community is itself turning its back on Israeli students who are studying abroad. And when the Jewish communities are no longer supportive of their Israeli brothers and sisters who come to study for a year or two in London, for example, we are in real trouble. So this is really a very wide reach, and we have to tackle these things. There are ways that we can do that. People are looking where to invest these days, right? Because they don't want to give their money to Columbia University. What they can do is giving money to Columbia University professors, for example, who are sympathetic, to invite Israeli scholars to basically do counter BDS, right? To do that in other universities as well. There's a great program at MIT led by faculty to make sure that these ties between Israel and the MIT are actually continuing. So they have donors giving money to that. That is worth investing in.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. Difficult subject, but thanks for shining light
Thank
on
you
it.
very much.